over. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and I hope you're all having a great Friday. We are bringing you RobloxianPLAYS' replay of a Tirpitz. Now, this is a brawl, so this is 2v2. Let's put up the builder, and Tirpitz, of course, one of the OG premium ships released way back in the day. Puddin', do you remember their Torpitz apocalypse?
Oh, yeah. I remember even Chase sending his midway game into Jingles when it was nothing but Tirpitz's.
Tirpitz's, yeah, and he just farmed them all.
You guys on NA don't even know what the true Turpocalypse is.
Right, because 135 battleships and 2 DDs in Q, right, was completely different on the EU.
Yeah, it was like 500 of them.
Okay,
It was
and
so
4
nothing but
DDs?
you know,
So, the Tirpitz got the nickname Tirpitz because of how stupid people were when they were just playing it. They didn't know how armor angling worked. They didn't have armor viewers, so they didn't know exactly what the plating looked like. The guns were terrible. They've been buffed since. The secondaries were fine, but they've been buffed since. Everybody just played it because you YOLO rush and torpedo other battleships.
there were no secondary build Tirpitz's really.
No.
Back, like when it first came out.
No.
And it was like the first German ship out there when they built this. And nobody had a German captain for it. It was a tier 8 premium battleship. Most players that bought it didn't even have like a tier 8 beforehand.
Yeah.
It was madness.
Tirpitz and Otago were the first ones, and both tier 8. But my best memory playing the Tirpitz, though, was when I went up against the North Carolina, and I bounced his shells because he didn't know where to aim on me. And I knew about armor angling, but I, at that time, hadn't really understood it that well because I was still, like, in my first year or two of playing the game. And I watched those 16-inch shells hit and do nothing because they didn't have the bounce animations that they finally added in, like, this last year. And I just remember this big, stupid, dumb grin on my face because I bounced his shells, went up alongside him, and torpedoed him and killed him. And that's what Tirpitz is all about. Absolutely what Tirpitz is all about. And she's even better now because they buffed her secondaries. Secondary commander builds are a thing. And her main batteries dispersion, I think, got tightened a little bit. So, anyway.
My favorite was torping a Shimakaze on the border.
Yeah. It's about Disney's favorite. No. I don't know what you mean about that Falcon one. But anyway, hi. Let's move into your build, Rob. You've got main armaments mod 1. And I'm assuming that's to protect your torpedoes.
Yeah. I use it often. Well, as often as I can.
Yeah. When you play a secondary build, Pepsi did have a Navy at once. That's true. When you play a German battleship that's got secondaries and torpedoes, you have to make that difficult decision of which one do I want to prioritize survival. Tirpitz's torpedoes are like on the waist and they're pretty exposed, so it's actually pretty easy for them to get nailed. So main armaments can help, but as Put and I were highlighting during King of the Sea casting last weekend, you have random values of HP for your torpedo turrets. So you could spawn in with 500 HP on one side and 2,500 on the other side, and that's with main armaments modification 1, which gives you the extra, survivability 50%. So, you're
not gonna. I'm sorry, but you're not gonna save a low roll torpedo too. It's not gonna happen.
You can definitely make the argument that even with the main armaments mod, there is a high chance you lose the torpedoes and therefore you shouldn't bother. But I get why you would want to use it, just in case.
Right.
The only reason I take that is to protect my main batteries.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like when I was first playing it, I kept losing my main gun, so I put that on there.
So Nasheron, to answer your question, that's a great one. Good to see you, by the way. It's been a while. I hope you've been all right. Auxiliary armaments is probably is going to give you an overall more bang for your buck, okay? But everybody remembers when they lose their torpedoes when they're lining up a side shot or whatever. This debate becomes even more problematic when you're looking at Schlieffen. because Schlieffen's got the torpedoes, but also so much of it is in the secondary. So you really have to make that determination. And it's one of those things that you have to decide for yourself. Which do you value more? I can't tell you what's better. We can give you the reasons for either or, but it's important that you, the player, use your brain, make your determination for yourself. And the nice thing is, it's slot 1. It's pretty cheap to change it between the two of them and experiment, or go on PTS and experiment with it for, you know, whatever. So I just wanted to highlight that for a moment. You did damage control system modification 1. You're not going to put engines on this. You've got secondary batteries, of course. You went steering gears. Now, Rob, I know you. You're the kind of person that hits W 4 times and never changes the throttle until you're dead. So for you, steering gears makes sense. For other players, you might consider propulsion. Now, let's take a look at your maneuverability. Your rudder shift time with steering gears is 12.79. My personal rule, for a battleship, I want under 15 seconds of rudder shift time. For a cruiser, I want under 10. And for a destroyer, I want under 5. So let's see, what is it right now? Stock, it's 15.98. So I would probably, in this situation, go with steering. Also, when you're up close and personal, that helps you with angling your ship against incoming fire and stuff and whatever. So that's fine. You could...
I would personally go damage control mod, especially on a secondary build. Because you're most likely not going to have basics of survivability in this build. I don't know if he has, but...
Yeah, you could do this.
I would say for brawls, you're probably better with steering. Randoms, you're probably better with DCP.
Yeah, if you're looking at brawls here, you're definitely correct. The matches are so short, you're probably not going to get much out of the damage con system there.
Yep. And for ranked, I'd probably go steering. Because there's just fewer ships and stuff, and it's so important to angle and stuff.
There's a lot down to preference too in the force slot. What you prefer and what your individual threshold for rudder shift is.
Rob, I'm already kind of wincing a little bit, and I'm only seeing the first 2 rows of your captain build. Is this Lutyens, first of all?
Yes, it's the build that works for me on Sleeping.
Ah, now that okay, understand. So Lutyens has buffed preventative maintenance. Buffed preventative maintenance is huge because it gives you extra survivability for your secondaries, and modules means your torpedoes as well as your main battery. So this, combined with main armaments mod 1, is very sexy. So you said this is your Schlieffen commander. Okay. So you've used up 20 points out of 21. You went with preventative maintenance, then you did IFHE, secondary range, manual secondaries, adrenaline rush, concealment, and grease the gears. Okay. What are you going to do for your last point then?
I don't know. Like, I have it available. It's a 2-point captain, but I haven't figured out what I was going to do with it.
So I'm going to pull up the builds, Doc.
Well, how often do you play your Schlieffen in randoms?
Quite often, and also bring it into ranked on occasion.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, you've got to drop grease the gears down and pick up, what is it, superintendent or whatever.
Emergency repair.
That one. Like, you have to, because you got limited DCPs, subs exist, and the only way to clear anything is with fucking stupid DCP.
So, yeah, if you're playing it on Schlieffen, yes. And that's why I pulled up the builds document for a minute. This is actually an example of where there's something about it I disagree with. And so I always say the caveat of, when you look at builds for ships, don't feel like it has to be the one that you follow. So if you're following Schlieffen, here's the Schlieffen build they recommend. I recommend not taking demo expert or whatever and putting that point, especially if you're Lutyens, on preventative maintenance, because I already talked about how sexy that is. But otherwise, you can see they go concealment and then they go improved repair, because you have limited DCP charges on the Schlieffen branch. And that's the main reason why you get the extra charge of DCP, and you get the extra heal too. Now, if I were to go here and search Tirpitz, what are we going to get? This is what they recommend for they have 2 different builds for Tirpitz. Okay, so you followed this, but you went concealment first. And then you also did that. Okay. So the reason why I'm getting into this nuance is because of the fact that when you do, and I don't poo-poo you for doing this, Rob, because I'm doing the same thing in ranked when I'm playing Scharnhorst or something. I throw Lutyens in, and I've got him now spec'd for Schlieffen. So Schlieffen, the secondaries are very dependent on IFHE because the majority of its secondaries need IFHE to pen 32 millimeters of armor. Now, Tirpitz is a little bit different. And I want to mention this because I'm sure people in chat might be curious about this. With your 105 millimeter shells, you do penetrate 32 millimeters armor with IFHE, and you also have your 150s. The big difference with Schlieffen is, if I remember right, there's like twice as many 105s versus the 150s, right?
I think so.
No, but
Yeah.
probably.
So that's why I'm just trying to get to the why. Okay, that's why IFHE is recommended on the Schlieffen line, but not for specifically Tirpitz, or you could say the main German battleship line. If you're going secondaries on Bismarck, for example, you probably don't need the IFHE, because without the IFHE, you already penetrate 32 millimeters with your 150s. Okay?
I would still
Penetrate
take
38.
it if you go secondaries.
You know,
Well-
I have a stupid question for Rob.
1 second. real
How
quick.
many? Okay.
The problem is when you do that, you also reduce your fire chance by half. So you have to keep that in mind. You're paying for that in that way. Okay, what's your question, Puddin?
How many German captains do you have lying around, Rob, that are fairly high skilled? Because in all honesty, if you're going to play the Tirpitz and Brawls, build a captain just for Brawls. You don't need concealment. That's kind of a waste of 4 points. It's a brawl. Right?
Yep.
So
I
like
was
you
waiting
could
until we got
drop
to that point.
you could drop that and put it in like more HP per tier or whatever, because that might be more beneficial.
If I'm playing Brawls, I'm probably going to put it in close quarters expert. Right?
It's
Because
gotta be
it's
either
about,
close quarters expert or fire prevention, one or the
Yeah.
other.
yeah, I'd probably go close quarters, and then like I don't know. I mean, if you're gonna do that, you could drop super heavy. I don't know.
I like Grease Gears for a battleship, like for Brawls, because you can.
Yeah, and if it's Lutyens, I mean, it's nice too. But yeah, I'm just trying to think. You might have to make that. I'm trying to think. There's a trade-off you have to make here, or if you can do both. Looks like you can get away with both, because I don't know what you'd want. Tier 3.
I would drop the second 1-point skill and the second 2-point skill and take the fire prevention.
You could do that too. You could do
Because
that,
you're
and
brawling,
that,
like
and
you're gonna face other tier 8 secondary battleships,
Yeah,
and if you
that's
can only
given.
get set on fired on one section in the middle, that helps you.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay. Let's move on. Your signals, you've got one, which is secondaries. You didn't bring a dead flag. I don't blame you. It's Brawls. Who cares? Whatever. Let's get to the game.
You have to bring a ram flag.
It's cheap.
It's so cheap. It's so
Yeah.
cheap. It's so inexpensive. And they're been how many times have you been in a brawl where it's ramming? Like that will be the difference between winning and losing too.
Right. Now, the question about the bonus code, yes, it does. BLWK, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce, but it does work. You just copy that, go into your Wargaming launcher, paste it in. Now, I'm aware that there are some cases where it doesn't work, but for the vast majority of all of you watching right now, you should be fine.
Worked for me.
There was an event on some regions that gave you 40 event pass points as part of the BA collaboration. So, the Blue Archive or whatever collaboration. So that's the reason why some regions don't get it. And they did post that in... They posted that... Okay, they did post that in the community Discord. Some Asian territories have their own event pass points distribution methods. So in some parts of the world, that code won't work. But for most of you watching right now, that code should work fine. Anyway, so you're up against a Bismarck. Now, he's got Hydro, which will detect your torps, but other than that, he's probably full secondary too. And you have to be careful of Le Terrible. Hopefully, the Charles Martel won't knead himself into death. We'll find out. Bookmark the Wargaming page for future codes. Amy, I did just turn link sharing off. But if you want to send me that link or whatever, I can post that in the chat, okay?
The enemy is about to win.
Alex Borisov 9, thank you for the follow. Welcome on in. I'd be concerned about the Terrible trying to eat you, but anyway.
Do you not have an Odin, Rob?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Odin's got the torpedoes and the hydro.
That's why I bring that up.
Yep. Well, Charles Martel is going for it. We can't tell if he's got hydro or defensive anti-air, but
He popped it.
yeah, he did pop it. He's running hydro right now. Okay, so that's keeping the Terrible spotted. That's actually huge for you, and he's ducking behind the island so the Bismarck can't shoot him. That's actually really good.
So what's your game plan here, Rob?
First, just gonna get into the cap and stop points.
Honestly, the game plan here, what it should be is like your Charles Martel is hopefully killing this Le Terrible here. Then you tell him to stay alive and you ram the Bismarck and the round is won.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, you can absolutely
But you
bookmark the
don't
main
have a
site.
ram flag, so it might not work actually if the Bismarck has a ram flag.
But
That's
I mean,
true.
he's got a torp. I mean, he's got to kill the Bismarck.
Mm-hmm.
Send your torps and then ram them.
Mm-hmm. Also, shoot your guns at him too. You might as well. Oh, he's looking the other way. Because your Charles decided to get shot at for a second. If I saw that, Rob, I would not have yeeted my torps early because he's totally not paying attention to you. As far as codes, by the way, I do keep a Discord, and we have a section for codes on my Discord. Let me put that Discord link in chat there. Bam.
No, don't do it, Rob.
Yeah. You're trying to turn.
He's doing it.
That is a stock Bismarck, by the way. This guy's grinding.
Well, now you can ram.
Round 2.
The ship is on fire.
DCP, 2 fires. You are now at half health. We always talk about this when we're covering tournaments like King of the Sea. When you're in a situation where you can ram a battleship versus try to do a drive-by, unless you absolutely need like the kill and to live, you're far better off just going for the ram and being done.
Well, I dare say in a Tirpitz, you should do the drive-by because you drive by with torps and your guns.
Right.
Anyone else, you go for the ram.
But because you fired your torps early, you weren't able to really do enough damage to him to kill him. Like I said, if I saw his turrets were looking the other way, I would have held those torpedoes and kept going straight. I would have just kept on going straight, and that would have been it. We have another giveaway that's about to start up on the chat, guys, so make sure you say something and you're a follower of the channel. Follow first, say something.
I take it you were trying to get your sleeve from 21 points. So once you get done with that, Rob, just put in another captain and just build it specifically for brawls.
Yep.
Which is 21 points.
Yeah, then I put a different captain in just for brawls because like Lucian's isn't going to do much for you in brawls because it's too quick. You're not going to proc anything.
Right.
When
So
the one particular game you may have proc something, things have gone horribly wrong all over the place.
At least if it's a 2v2 brawl. Like if it's like, I don't know, they're doing 7v7 brawls again, then maybe.
Yeah, you're only getting the
7v7
enhanced...
brawls is like it's a ranked game, but called something else.
Something went wrong with your bot. It pulled the wrong winner.
Okay. It only you get the buff skills off of it, and that's it. The buff preventative and the buff tourist reverse. That's it. Now, Rob, you were saying you wanted to think about what else you would go for a commander skill, and I didn't understand what you were saying earlier, but I do now. So you've got a 21-point loot yens already. You just don't know where to put that last point. So if you are not going to respec, and by respec I mean going with what the recommended build is, because this is how I would totally build my Schlieffen, like this. So if you're not willing to do that, that's okay. If you're not willing to do that, let's see, what did you have? You had, I think, concealment, and that, and then you had that. So if that's the situation, I would probably recommend consumable specialist, because on the Schlieffen, that will get you a quicker reload of your hydroacoustic search, which will help you in a Schlieffen game. So I'd probably go with consumable specialist.
Just for the hydro?
Yeah, just for the hydro. How many times do you push in and look at your hydro and realize, oh crap, I have 30 seconds left on my hydro? Like, to me, I would do what else are you gonna do? You're gonna use Gunfeeder and change to HE in your Schlieffen? I mean, I guess you could.
I'd probably take the emergency repair specialist.
Rob, I'll make it simple for you. Save up and respect, and get the superintendent.
Or wait for the free respec when Wargaming does it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, there could be that, but definitely go for a respec.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get more value out of the superintendent, probably, because it also helps with your heal, right? Yeah. Like, you already heard a debate. If you're not going to respec, what do you do? It's like this, that, like, no offense, it's a 1-point skill. It's just whatever. Just don't take incoming fire alert. Everything else will be okay. It benefits you in some way, but it's not the best benefit. Compared to superintendent, it's going to be the better of the benefit.
I agree.
So, all right. Well, there's not much to talk about your replay because it's a brawl, and I think we've kind of, hammered it in. So we'll get the render going on this one.
Hold on, I think I see the horse kicking a little bit.
What?
Beating a dead horse?
Oh, I get it. He's twitching a little. Anyway, this will be fast. Congrats, Duckman, on another win. What are we going to title this one?
Torpitz. Because he did go for the Torps instead of going for the ram.
The other thing, Rob, just get a ram flags.
Mm-hmm. This would have been so much quicker and easier if you just rammed him and that was it. He even asked you to ram him.
Yeah, like...
You missed! How could you miss? He was 3 feet in front of you.
Like, most people for brawls are getting in and getting out.
Yep.
Which is why you will see a lot of ramps. So just get in, get out.
Yep. The XP gain is much faster that way.
You also gain more XP in that game because it's all your damage if you ram. There's no chance that anybody else steals some of your damage because it takes so long to kill you.
But I mean, here's the other thing. As soon as the Charles said W Hydro and the DD was like, oh, look, there's an island. I need to pull over for a Happy Meal real quick. It's GG, game's already over.
Yep.
Yeah, that Charles Martel honestly won it by getting rid of the Destroyer.
He did.
If you want to say that Destroyer messed up by being there and getting himself killed, however you want to look at it.
All right. Well, Rob, thanks for sending that one in.